creating a good speech does take a lot of work, and it can be a little time consuming, which can be intimidating. So you got to make sure that you give yourself time and that you split it up in advance. So for example, if I'm planning on doing a speech, like I make sure I have a week in advance to prepare and plan for this thing. I don't just say, oh yeah, let me do a speech tomorrow. My speeches would suck. I'm telling you guys, I'm really good at public speaking. Let me put this down so I don't fucking keep shaking. I'm really good at public speaking, but if I didn't do all this prep work, I would suck. I'd be just as bad as the next guy. Like when people tell me to go up and to do public speaking impromptu and just without preparing like they do in my classes, I'm really not the best out there at all. But this is a process that I do that makes me the best. So on day one, right, so alright, here's the steps and I'll tell you how I split it up. Pick a topic, create an outline, do research, review your outline, practice your speech, and that's it. So I split it up into those sections. So day one is pick a topic. So in Toastmasters, for example, or even if you're doing public speaking at an event or whatever it is, you got to figure out what is the outline, like what is the theme of your speech. So for Toastmasters, there's different themes. One week might be on an influential speech, or one week might be on an educational speech, or it might be a speech that's based on research, or they want you to use humor or entertainment. So then you got to kind of figure out like, what topics could I use that would work with this, right? Because a topic that you pick for a humorous speech isn't going to be the same thing that you pick for an educational speech. It could, but not all topics work with all themes. So you kind of pick down different topics that you find interesting. This is what's super important, that you find interesting and that you have knowledge on, or that you would like to go and research to find knowledge on because you find it interesting. I try to do both, right? So I already have a little bit of knowledge beforehand, so it's kind of easy to do research on, and I enjoy the topic, so I don't mind doing more research on it. Write down those topics. If nothing's popping out at me right away, the next day, just kind of sleep on it, and the next day pick a topic. Then I create an outline. So I'll show you guys what my outline looks like. Real simple. So an outline is just like writing a paper. Start with an intro, then go to a body. I usually do about 2 or 3 bodies, and then a closing. That simple. Now, what do they include? The intro is just a hook. The intro always just has to be your opening statement, something really interesting, something intriguing, something that's going to capture their attention. So I'll use either a question, something that's controversial, or I would use a fact or a statistic, just something that's relevant and interesting. So in this example, with more self-control, we could all achieve these different goals that somebody's going to be able to relate to, right? One is eating right, exercise regularly, avoiding drugs and alcohol, saving money for retirement, stop procrastinating, and just achieving all sorts of goals. And then I tell them, according to psychological association, so it's research fact behind this, that lack of willpower is the #1 reason for not following through with such changes. Then for body 1, right, how do I come up with the next topic? I just think logically. That's how I came up with why people lack willpower. Well, I just told people why they're not achieving their goals is because of lack of willpower. So then I just kind of like, well, let's explain why people lack willpower. Well, then after I do that, they're going to want to know how to strengthen willpower, right? And then after that, I tell them a story to hit on the emotional side, how they utilize willpower. And then I just close with the tips that he recommends for strengthening his willpower. All right, then day 3 is to go through and do research on that, right? I'll just try to find an interesting statistic or fact or something regarding willpower. Then I will Google search why people lack willpower, and I'll literally take notes on anything that seems interesting and relevant to the point I'm trying to make here. Then I'll do the same for how to strengthen willpower, right? I didn't know these answers beforehand. And now I heard his story beforehand, so I just Googled it again to remind myself of all the key main points, right? And in this period, I'm just taking down more than I need. I'm taking down extra, and then I concise it later. So now after I have all my research, then I'll go back on the next day and I'll restructure my outline. So I'll make sure that with the information I just got that I still like my outline, or do I want to change it? Do I want to change a main point or change my hook or something? And then I start to concise it. So I make it a lot smaller, like all the main points that I'm going to talk about, etc. So the most important part is actually practicing it. So then I'll have my outline and it'll be just little bullet points. And I think this is where most people stop, and this is why most people's speeches suck. This is the most important part. They'll create that outline, they'll have ideas of what they're going to say, and then they'll leave it at that. And then they just kind of talk on those bullet points and let it go for the first time. So what I'll do is I will go through that speech and I will time myself, and I'll do it over and over and over again until it sounds exactly how I want it to. So I don't write out word for word what I'm going to say. I have the bullet points and the outline, and I follow the outline. But my first time when I say it out loud, it doesn't sound good. Like my transitions from my intro to my body to the closing, like it doesn't sound smooth at all. So I work on it and I kind of sound it out. I'm like, what can I say that would make that sound smooth? And I do that for each transition, right? And I say, how can I say this more concisely? How can I say this more entertainingly? And I keep on doing the speech over and over again out loud until I can do the whole thing consecutively in a tone and in a manner that sounds audibly or appealing to me, to my ear, right? Something that I like. And I keep doing that, and that might take me 1 to 2 days, right? And practicing just for 30 minutes a day here, so an hour in total. And by the time that's over, I kind of have the speech memorized in my head, like 90% of it, right? I might change a few words here and there, but I pretty much know exactly what I'm going to say. So I'm not nervous when I get up there. Like I know exactly what I'm going to say, and I know it sounds good because I've done it. And that's it. That's the secret. It's just a lot of work. So what you have to do is just break up the work into smaller chunks, into smaller days. And that's it. So I'll also be posting up this speech when I'm done with it, so you can see the aftermath of it.